Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Underhood Show. My name is Josh Profit. I'm the service director here at Mel Hambelton Ford. Alongside me this morning is Kelly Hamilton. Kelly's the manager of the Quick Lane down the road here. So, good morning, Kelly.
How are you doing this morning?
Sunny and 70 is what I would typically say.
Looks like maybe you've got plenty of sun.
Kelly. Sorry for the delayed response here. One of us was looking a little red in the face, and we were trying to get the settings squared away on it. But anyways, yes, this is a call-in show. So welcome to Under the Hood at Mel Hambelton Ford here. But call in. The numbers down here in the bottom corner of the screen, 316-462-3673. It's a number to jump on the air here with us. Number to jump on the air here with us this morning and talk about anything automotive. So anything ailing your car, you want to talk about tires, brakes, batteries, service intervals. You want to talk about check engine lights, or you got something going on with your vehicle and want to discuss it and see if we can help you out or get you pointed in the right direction. That's what we're here for. So 316-462-3673. This is the number to jump on the air here with us. And if anybody who calls in, we're going to mail you out a prize package valued over $130 in value. It's going to consist of the works, which is an oil change and tire rotation. We use Motorcraft oil and filter products here at Mel Hambelton Ford. We're also going to complete a multi-point inspection on that vehicle, checking over the brakes, tires, steering, suspension, all the safety-related components, just making sure that vehicle's geared up and ready to go for that next 5,000 miles of driving. You'll get yourself complete nitrogen for your tires, so you get all the great benefits that nitrogen has to offer for your vehicle. And then $10 to Mel's Diner, so you can get yourself something to eat and drink while you're here, and a BG Products package, which consists of a can of MOA or motor oil additive, and then 44K for your fuel system. Again, just getting that vehicle geared up and ready to go for that next 5,000 miles of driving. So, good morning, Kelly.
How about do you guys have enough rain out there in Haven yet?
There's so what I will say is enough rain for one one period of time or week of time. What's going to happen is we get to July and it's going to be dry, but Cheney Lake has definitely improved a lot, but there's still a long ways to go.
I have not driven out there, but I've seen some of the pictures O'Brien's Marina has posted online, and it is looking a lot better.
Yeah, I think they're very, very thankful for the rain we got. We definitely needed it for sure. Still need some more. I'm not sure about, right this minute. You got people the other day, what was it? Probably Monday or Tuesday. I was headed home and seen somebody, tying into cutting on harvest. And so I think that's in full swing. And last night, me and the boys were out running around on some dirt bikes and on some country roads, and there was a couple of combines out in the field, and there was a couple spots in that field where it looked like they struggled to get through it. There was some pretty deep ruts in them for sure. Yeah. But it's one of those things. Last week we talked about obviously all the rain and how important it is on vehicles to not be involved in that. There was definitely a lot of images and stuff of cars that were driving into it. We've got several of them in here now that have been flooded, and it's just not a good thing for the car industry for sure. But then that brings me to the point of wiper blades, for sure, and that's something that I think in the I don't know, maybe Kansas in general, it's dry for periods, and then you get the dry heat. The sun's beating down on these things, and you don't think of it until you need it, right?
You don't need them until you
need them, and then it's always always a crap, and it never seems to fail. when one of them is streaking or not doing its job, it's always right in front of the driver, right there in that
right in your line
little
of sight
section. I can remember years and years ago, I had took a trip somewhere. I don't even remember where it was or even what vehicle I was in, but it was so bad that I stopped and I switched the wiper blade from the passenger side to the driver, switched them around just because of it. It's just literally putting it right in that view. And going back to that multi-point inspection and what we do on each and every service. And that's definitely one of those checks that that we perform on the multi-point, and just making sure that when you need it, it's there, right? I think of how much of a safety factor that is. Everybody thinks, okay, well, wiper blades, well, I can do without that. Well, it probably could for when it's dry and you're not getting any water, but man, when it's out there and downpouring,
yep,
it's visibility is crucial for sure.
That's probably one of those things we should have checked on the Deuce and a Half when we were converting it into a water truck for the
water
racetrack.
truck.
Yeah.
Well, that's got those windshields that the whole windshield pops out, and then you just
and that's all well and good until it's raining. When I volunteered to drive that thing up to Hutch this last time, I'm driving down the road trying to shift gears, reaching up, working the wipers manually through the windshield. That was a heck of a deal. But yeah, wiper blades are very important.
Are you whining?
No,
it sounds kind of like you're whining.
Nope, not complaining, not one bit. I had a time of my life doing that.
Awesome, yeah. Well, I mean, just driving that Deuce in general is a pleasure.
It is. It is. It's a really good time.
For sure. But hey, this is a call-in show, 316-462-3673. That's the number to jump on the air here with us and talk about anything automotive. While we're waiting on a caller to call in, I was going to get into a little bit of the story of what we got involved with this week. And, I've been in this industry for a long time, for sure. And there's, I would say, it's hard pressed to show up and get involved in something or be involved in something that does not maybe mythify. I don't, that surprises, or I don't know how there's not much that surprises me, and being in this industry, you see a lot of things.
Yep.
And so where I'm headed with that is we had a vehicle that we both got the opportunity to be involved with this week that had some issues. It was a diesel pickup, had some issues with the exhaust system being plugged up on it to the point that it completely didn't run. Right.
Yeah.
And so
I was just waiting to figure out what
direction I was headed.
I've been involved in a lot of different things this week, some radio worthy, some definitely shouldn't be talked about on here. So it's always a good time coming on here because Josh keeps it a huge secret on what we're going to talk about.
What it is. Well, so the main reason I do that is, for one, you can have a list of things to talk about on this show.
Absolutely.
Right? You can have a list of 5 or 6 things, and then you take a phone call, or it takes a turn, and you never even get to your list and never even talk about it. So it doesn't really matter, right? As to what that looks like. But yes, I wanted to talk about this diesel truck and the exhaust being plugged up on it and what we were able to obtain and do with this thing. But we do have a caller coming through, so we're going to get them patched through. We'll get what's on Paula's mind this morning, and then we'll get back to this. So hey, let's go to the phones and let's talk to Paula. Paula, you're on live with Under the Hood this morning.
Awesome! I actually got on the line. I called you last week.
Yes.
To talk about road rage.
Yes.
And I didn't get online, so my son doesn't believe I called you and talked to you.
You did. Yes, you did. So to your son, she did.
Yeah, I had to call back and and say again to all the people in Wichita, I will get out of your way. Just have a little patience with me and arrive alive and stop the road rage.
So that was a great point of topic or whatever, and we talked about it for a little while last week for sure. But patience is a virtue. It's sometimes I lack that, for sure.
We all do. We all get caught up in what we're doing, and
I would even take that one step further. And Phil and I always talk, and Kelly, I know you and I have had this conversation before as well, but I just don't think with the advancements in technology and all the safety in these vehicles now, like people, they're they rely on their vehicle way too much. When I think of stopping, and I think of, stopping in a modern day vehicle now, and think of stopping. I remember having a pickup in high school that had drum brakes all the way around, and like I remember specifically going through a stop sign, and it's not because I wanted to, it's because I physically could not stop. The brakes got hot and it just rolled right through the stop sign. And
right.
Somebody in today's or the youth today having to drive something like that, or something carbureted, or it would almost from my perspective maybe even be a little comical to watch that happen, for sure. But years ago you really had to kind of know the vehicle and its abilities and stuff like that. And today,
sometimes I say, well, you trust my brakes more than I do.
Yeah. Well,
and I know what you're talking about, because sometimes, like my daughter's car, I hate it. It's a Rogue, and it just beep, 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 beep. Anytime she pulls in, will pull into a Sonic, and she's too close to the speaker. You know how you get close, and it warns her, and I'm just like, and then you get to where you rely on that.
Yes.
And then you drive a car that doesn't do that doesn't warn you, and then you're like, pulling over when there's somebody in that lane because you're expecting it to warn you.
To tell me that, there's somebody there, don't do that, instead of actually having to look yourself. So
the blind spot detector thing they have on cars nowadays. And if you rely on that and you don't turn your head and really look, it can get you in trouble.
You are, you're definitely correct in that. The other thing I would also even talk about, you talk about, I guess, road rage, or, what I guess I maybe would interpret that more than anything is if another driver makes a mistake to you, being, I guess, courteous enough to understand that people make mistakes, right? And there's going to be a time where you're going to make a mistake too. And that doesn't mean that you have to turn around and do something now back to that person. And that's what you see these videos all the time, that where it escalates so quickly. And it's like, okay, what happened to common courtesy of,
and your car is not your weapon.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Your car is a transportation device, and you can't get on there in it and think, everyone's out to get you. I agree with that. Yeah. It's like patience and courtesy and what? Grace.
Yeah.
My daughter says she's listening.
Very good.
Hello,
Grace. I definitely agree with that. And then I think Kelly and I can both attest to, the situation where you said is that you brought up that the person in front of you or that cut you off trust your brakes more than you do. I think Kelly and I can both attest to, and actually something I wanted to talk about today is seeing vehicles in a multi-point inspection situation there that
just shouldn't be on the road.
That shouldn't be on the road,
yes.
Right? And so you're just assuming that person behind you or in front of you or whatever is has the best of systems and has the ability to stop, as well as you do and stuff like that, for sure. So I agree with that.
Any car can fail.
Correct.
I think we also have a problem here in Kansas. If they can get in front of you and get them to hit you from behind, that you're at fault. And I think sometimes the way insurances and the way the accident claims are handled is a problem.
Yeah.
Because it's not always the one who hits from behind that's at fault. But according to Kansas, it is.
Yeah, I would even go. There's a lot to unwrap there, but I would even go one step further in regards to insurances. And I've been involved in a lot of just being in the industry, and I've been involved in a lot of insurance decisions that honestly, quite frankly, just disagreed with how the situation was handled and not taking care of a customer from the insurance company's perspective. And it's you get involved with some of those, and they're honestly just out to pay the minimum amount possible. Whether it's using salvage parts versus OEM replacement parts. And then I've been involved in situations where maybe a insured had to involve their own insurance into something because the other insured party didn't have enough coverage, or they weren't accepting 100% of the responsibility of the claim, and how they determined, that it was a 80-20 or whatever. How are you 80% at fault at something? I just don't understand that. But what Kelly brought up is the limited liability levels in Kansas are so low that, I mean, in this day and age, you wreck a new vehicle, and it doesn't matter what the nameplate is on the front of it. You break a headlight and a radiator and a grill, and you're out freaking $5,000 pretty easy, And
I know, isn't it crazy?
It is.
Yeah,
it is absolutely crazy.
I looked at the accident damage on my car, and I had no idea it would be as much as it was. I was just like, used to be, sometimes they total cars, and I'm like, it doesn't even look like that much damage.
Yeah.
But it's their formula, and my son explains this to me. Their formula, and if it's more than, I think he said 75% of the value of the car.
Well, and
75 or 80 to fix it, that they will just total it.
Well, and then
instead of fixing it,
and nowadays they'll go through and even calculate, okay, what that vehicle is worth as a salvage value, and put that into the formula too.
Right.
So that because the used parts or salvage parts anymore are in some cases I've seen where we've priced a used part, and it's as much, if not a little bit more than what a brand new part is, in the sense of if that new part is just unavailable or hard to get a hold of. And so the used value goes up so much on some of those. So yeah, I agree with your comments 100%. And again, from my perspective, is when you cut that person off, or go around them, and then now you have to rely on their brakes, you have no idea. I mean, you potentially know what your vehicle's like and that it's okay, but you're assuming that theirs is as good as yours. And we can both attest that in a lot of times that might not be the case. So for sure. Well, very good. Very good. I appreciate you calling back in. Sorry about last week. And yeah, tell your son, yes, I did in fact talk to you. So
thank you. I appreciate you talking to me again. You all have a good day.
You too. Thanks, Paul.
Wichita, have a good day.
There you go. Yeah, we got to the end messages last week, and then they text me and said, hey, a call coming through. And I was like, so I just talked to her off air. And so glad she called back in and set that straight. But
I don't know, Josh, I can't ever remember getting angry while I've been driving.
So let's since we're kind of in line with that, let's go back to, this is something that I wanted to bring up, and the multi-point inspection, and just getting into what we find. And I don't want to say on a daily basis, but on a pretty routine basis of stuff. I've got a couple of photos here that I was going to share with everybody. So let's go. There we go. Okay. So this is on a vehicle that came in, and the vehicle came in, believe it or not, it showed up for a transmission fluid leak. So This
wasn't even here for the brakes grinding.
This is not here for this. This is part of the multi-point inspection and what we found during the multi-point inspection. So this is a larger vehicle. This was off of I think an F-250. But again, it was here for a transmission fluid leak, and we completed the multi-point inspection on this thing, and this is what we found. So now pretend like you just cut this guy off. You know, and he had to rely on his brakes, which I just could not believe. There is no pad lining there. That's strictly just the backing plate for the pad lining. This is the rotor.
Oh boy.
So it's completely through the face of the rotor.
Into the cooling fins.
But how in the world somebody would not have heard a noise or thought that there was an issue, like, just blows me away, beyond me. Now, I got a couple. Yeah, so this is so both sides of this rotor. So what's happened in this particular situation is this caliper is hung up. So the slides do not move on this caliper. And you can see, because of the thickness of the one side of the rotor versus the other, that it's just wore that pad completely through. And again, so that pad was riding on that side of that rotor and just wore all the way through the rotor and the pad. And then I think there's another picture here. So this is what the pad should look like versus what it does look like.
And in a situation like that, just the amount of noise that would have been making while driving it. But then even if the noise was minimal, like if you have a good caliper on one side and hit the brakes, that's going to pull the steering wheel.
Yeah, so this was and this was on a rear too. So, and I just look at that, and so surprisingly, when it come in, it was noisy, but it wasn't as noisy as what I thought it was going to be. But also, I think there was several times within its life that it was really noisy that you had to have just avoided it. So this, but again, going back to her point as to relying on your brakes, or other motorists relying on their brakes, or assuming that they have good brakes, like in this particular situation, I can't imagine how much it would affect your distance to stop.
Yeah, it a lot
in something like this. And this is I feel like this is a pretty bad or a pretty good example of some of the worst stuff we've seen, but I can't tell you that this is even the worst. Either.
No, it's not. I've had them. As a matter of fact, I just had one last month that the rotor had completely disconnected from the center portion of the rotor that goes in behind your wheel. That the outer ring of that it was in two pieces.
Really?
Yeah.
And we should have got some photos of that to be able to share. So a couple things in my opinion with like this vehicle here specifically, and I looked at history on it, and it was the first time we had seen it, but somebody's not looking that vehicle over or checking. Like that's had to have gone several thousands of miles in order for it to be like that, right? And so
I wonder how somebody would get their vehicle checked over and know that's in the situation it's in, Josh.
Well, and that's where, this multi-point inspection, you can go anywhere and get an oil change, right? Yep. I mean, there's people literally on the sides of the road with signs saying, oil change here, or come on in, or whatever you want to look at it as. But what are they doing to it? And I would even also argue to this point, I feel like I'm going to say engine oil brands, so whether it's a Valvoline or a Motorcraft or a Mobil Pennzoil, like there are differences in those brands, right? But also, to me, it's more important for your engine to have routine service than it would be second importance of what product you were using to do that. Like, it's way more important to routinely change that than it is as to the brand of oil that it is.
Age where everybody has a decent product. Are some better than others? Of course.
Yes.
There are better oils than others. But keeping good, clean, fresh oil in there, no matter what the brand name is, yeah, you're right. That's paramount. It's top priority.
But also, inspecting that vehicle over is probably even more important than the service itself.
Well, and everybody thinks about their engine, which is it can be a huge expense on your vehicle. You want to take care of your engine, you want to maintain your engine, everything like that. But your vehicle has so many other systems that need checked over and need serviced and maintenance and things like that as the age and miles of that vehicle go up. And a lot of those systems today in today's vehicles way more advanced than they used to be. They work better, they operate better, but a lot of times that also means they're a little bit more expensive to repair when they break.
Yeah.
And having that maintenance, being able to look at those, being able to catch things before it's gotten to a point where it actually ruins parts, it's still something we can adjust or tweak or service or just replace a few parts instead of multiple.
Yeah, you look at this brake situation here, and I mean, that guy's he's $1,000 into a repair bill when it could have been a pad,
Right.
Changing out pads and resurfacing rotors.
Well, and yeah, on a deal like that, we could dive into that. I mean, if say we would have replaced those brake pads at 3 millimeters, when did those slide pins seize up? If they were still free when those brake pads had 3 millimeters on them, I mean, 3 millimeters on a rear brake pad, that's going to take thousands upon thousands of miles to wear down.
Yeah.
But that 3 millimeters on a brake pad, had we replaced them then and put fresh grease on the slide pins, everything like that, now we're looking at just a normal brake job. Mm-hmm. Whereas now we're looking at potentially a caliper bracket, a rotor, brake pads, a set of rotors, brake pads, a lot of components there that could have been a much avoided repair.
Very, very much so. Hey, kind of skipped over the chat line this morning, so I'll go back here and good morning, Delbert. How's everything going your way? I bet he's got a story or two to tell about road rage or drivers. I think he has the opportunity to be out a lot doing Uber and Lyft and stuff like that. But and also, I'm assuming Oak City probably is no stranger to road rage as well down there. So good morning, Delbert. And then he made a comment on here too that I think we could talk about as well. So he says he only uses Motorcraft wiper blades on his Ford vehicle because they found they work perfectly on the Ford vehicles. And what I would say about that is I know you've got involved with it before too, and I have as well. Wiper blades, there's so many different options out there to choose from, right? What I don't understand, or not understand, but when I look at all the aftermarket options out there, you open up the box, the wiper blades are there, but then there's like 14 different adapters that fall out too, and how that attaches to that vehicle. And they're trying to make a one SKU number that fits 43 different vehicles. And I think of all that bracketry and all the attachments and what that does, and in my opinion, like, okay, yeah, it might work the winter months, or excuse me, through spring and stuff. But when you get to winter and you got ice and there's way more load, or you're pushing snow on there, and like, is it going to hold? Is it going to stay attached? And I don't know how many times I've been involved in a vehicle that comes on the service drive, and one of the wiper blades is just completely gone. It just blew off, you know, because it wasn't attached properly, or for sure. So I would definitely agree. You know, fitment is huge, and you're going to get the best fitment just with that OEM product. So and then he says tried other expensive brands, but they didn't compare. And you know, I've seen a lot of promotional type stuff on wiper blades for sure.
You know, it's funny he says that. I forgot about this, but we were on vacation, and we had taken the truck, and I don't remember where we were. It might have been Colorado, but we went through some storms headed out there, and I had to stop and pick up a wiper blade, and I was just going to pick up one because it's like you said, it's leaving a streak right across where I look, and I know what we sell our wiper blades for. And it's been so many years since I went into a parts store and looked for a wiper blade. And I went in there, and my mind was blown.
Well, and then just imagine being an average consumer with no automotive experience, and you walk down that aisle, and like you instantly become, I guess, like awestruck on or overwhelmed of what's right, what's wrong.
So many options, so much different things. Some of those were, I mean, literally over 2 times the cost for a single wiper blade. What we have a pair of them for?
What we charge for a set?
My God.
Yeah, I agree with that. So, and then we've got Jason on with us this morning. Good morning, Jason. Thanks for the message there. So Delbert says he used to do lift, but stopped after the accident and buying a 24 Bronco Sport. So, and then lots of road rage stories for sure. I bet he does. Yeah, I bet he does.
Well, let's I think we ought to talk about this, Diesel.
Okay, let's do it. So we had a opportunity of a vehicle coming in here, and it was a diesel pickup, so 6.7. It was a 16 6.7 with 250,000 miles roughly on it, and the vehicle was towed in, did not run. So it would start and run and run for about 15-20 seconds, and then it would die. And then it would die. And the reason it was dying is because the exhaust on it was completely plugged, so it would build up so much exhaust back pressure on it that it would choke out the engine because it couldn't breathe. And you know, in doing this, there's on these diesels, on the newer diesels, there's an exhaust system on it for emissions control. And we see a lot of different things at the dealership. You know, through the different years, they started out with just the particulate filters in these trucks, and then they went to and they added diesel exhaust fluid in them with urea to get the emissions down. So there's a couple different things that are happening in here. One is the NOx portion of it, and then the other is emissions control out the back of it. And here's what I'm going to say is I understand the reason for the exhaust system. I understand why it's there. I believe that the manufacturers, whether it's Ford or any other manufacturer out there, like they've come in leaps and bounds from where they started in, I think, about 2008 probably is about kind of when the first system came through or came about. And just the sheer amount of torque and horsepower and what these diesels can do, and how clean they run now, it's mind-boggling to me. I mean, I think back of, you know, the late 80s or what. Yeah, I mean, then you just blow smoke and you can smell them. You know, you can smell a diesel, and every time you leave from a stoplight, if there was one in front of them, your cabin was full of smoke, the outside was full of smoke. Like, they've just come so far in how clean they are and how efficient they are. And so we get involved or see you know, some come through that have issues with the emission systems, but I would venture to say that for the most part, it is a pretty durable system.
It is pretty durable system. And, you know, what Josh was talking about is the diesel particulate filter in the exhaust. And that's what helps collect all that
soot,
black smoke and soot and all that stuff. And it all collects in there. And then the truck, part of its normal driving cycle, it has a regen process it goes into, where it increases the exhaust temperature and basically incinerates.
It cooks it out.
Cooks out a bunch of that, incinerates a bunch of that soot out of the. Now, how's that work for somebody who's driving the truck 5 miles a trip?
That's that's where it becomes hard. Use is a huge thing. Typically on diesels, you see a lot of maybe more idle hours than you do mileage, actual miles on the vehicle, and so that has a huge effect on the exhaust system and what that can do as well. And so that's where BG has been in research and development on a product to go in and clean that exhaust system up. And just coincidentally, you know, let's see, I was trying to, my weeks kind of run together here, but I think it was last week we went down and did a demo on this new service that they have that's coming out, so they could show us kind of how it works, get some feedback on the research and development side of things. And they have this service in other countries. In fact, they even had the representative that supported those other countries there with us, and you know, he had great things to say about it. But anyways, this is a preventative maintenance service that they're now bringing to the table to keep what happened to this truck from happening. But again, it's preventative maintenance, so they're looking at it as, you know, every so often or mileage interval you would do this to keep this from happening. They're not advertising, hey, once you get to this point that we can fix it. It's to keep from getting it there. But again, they wanted to put their product to the test. That's one thing that I love about BG and what they do and what they bring to the table is the amount of research and development. And you know, if they're going to sell you something, it's going to be worthwhile. Yeah. And it's going to do its job. Again, the consumers, I think, oftentimes have a misunderstanding of some of the products in the sense that, you know, I have an example of a customer that is experiencing a transmission issue, and now they want to do a transmission service. Well, hold on, you're already to the late. The purpose of that transmission service was to prevent that from happening. And so, well, look at me. I'm not paying attention here to my phone. So we tried this service on this truck, and inevitably it cleared it out.
Keep in mind, this truck, it would not run a full 20 seconds. It would build up so much back pressure in the exhaust. You could feel nothing coming out of the exhaust tips if you put your hand up there, and it would choke itself out and die. And they said, we're gonna try to run this service with these chemicals and stuff. And at that point, I knew I was completely wasting my time being there. I had other stuff to do, and I feel like I'm wasting my time. And then lo and behold, 30 minutes later, this thing's breathing out the exhaust, running just fine after a regen. It was crazy.
Yeah. Hey, let's go to the phones here. Let's talk to Jordan. Jordan, you're on live with Under the Hood. Good morning.
What's up? How you guys doing today?
We are winning today. How about you?
I need to get some work done and it's raining, so I'm losing today, I guess.
It's all about perspective, Jordan.
Yeah.
It is. So I got a question, especially since I got a couple of mechanics on the line there. Something I've wondered myself, and I'm sure some of your viewers have wondered. You know, I think the cool thing about mechanics is they make flag hour pay, and you know that really allows those cats to control their own destiny. And the more efficient and the faster you work, the more money you can make, essentially, as opposed to other jobs where you clock in and this is the money you make and that's it. But in the last, I'd say 20 years is probably the best when it's come along. How has the use and basically I don't know if I'd say invention, but every guy out there has Milwaukee battery powered tools, battery powered wrenches, battery powered impacts, battery powered everything. How much has that sped the job up and let those guys do their job faster as opposed to, the old way of just hand tools?
That's a great question. In fact, well, I'll talk about that a little bit. So I'm looking at replacing this compressor at the main dealership. I was having a little bit of issue with it, and we actually the machine is, I'm going to say 15 years old, 10, 15 years old.
About that, yeah.
And it's a pretty large machine. But one of the things that we did, so I brought the company in that's looking at replacing it. We did an air study on the machine. So how much does it run? So we could make sure that we're sizing it right for the shop. So now a couple of things that are going to go into that is 15 years ago when this machine was installed, we didn't have near the number of techs that we have now. So we've grown in technician count. So you would think, okay, well, I need a bigger compressor, right? But then you hit the nail on the head with the invention of these, the lithium-ion batteries, and that tool technology has come so far that you go back there and I don't want to say that you don't hear it, but it's a heck of a lot less. You do not hear air tools go like you did years ago. And so the outcome of the study was we need, honestly, less than half of the size of compressor that we have back there now. So you are definitely correct on that in this fact of, it allows that technician, it speeds them up from that perspective. What I will say is it's on all of the labor time studies or time guides, when they produce those, those times are not, they're not allowed to use air tools to come up with those times. Power tools or any type of power tool to come up with those times as well. And so I still wonder sometimes how in the heck they come up with some of the labor times, but yeah, that's definitely been a huge benefit. And I always thought too that, your tool guys, so you're like Snap-on, Mac, all those guys get together and they make some sort of new fastener every so often, just so, and then they pay for those fasteners to go into the manufacturers. So the guys have to buy new tools. I know that's not the case, but it just sure feels like it, because as a technician, tool expense is something that, and you can have a senior master guy back here and he's never going to be done buying tools. His payout may be a little less at times for sure, but there's always going to be something that's going to help the job.
26 F350 came in, and now I need a new axle nut socket for it.
Yeah. Well, and also too, I mean, and that's the difference between, in my opinion, is a professional and somebody that's a hobbyist, is that when you have the right tool to do something, for one, the level of professionalism to complete that job is so much higher, right? As opposed to a guy that's just trying to make this thing work to do that. That's not the right way to do it. And so what's the end outcome after producing something to make something to work, for sure? So
but yeah, the amount of battery powered tools and everything like that everybody has nowadays, I would say, well, I know I have technicians that don't own an air tool. It is battery powered 1/2-inch impact, battery powered ratchet, battery powered impact driver, battery powered drill, like all this Milwaukee stuff. And they don't even own an air tool.
Yeah.
And, 25, 30 years ago,
You were
that's all the shop was, is impacts running, air ratchets screaming. That's all it was. And it's a lot different now.
Yeah, very much so. So
yeah, 100%. I that's kind of what made me think of it. Is I remember walking in, my uncle's mechanic garage as a kid, and that's all you hear. All you hear is air tools running, and you don't hear that anymore. It's a completely different sound in the shop.
I will, yeah,
it's all battery powered stuff, and stuff's come so far. I mean, I've got a half-inch Milwaukee impact wrench I use in my day-to-day for my business. And if I need to change a tire on a trailer or something, I mean, it's crazy. It zips it right off. I mean, it has the power of an air tool, which you'd never think it does, but it does.
So I'll throw that question kind of right back at you, though. I mean, I think that battery powered equipment or electric equipment has probably changed your industry as well. I mean, the other day I was we went to a Ford meeting, and when we were walking up to the place that they had this thing at, there was one of the little robots out there, like cutting it was a mower, and it had its zone or whatever that it ran in, and it was out there cutting the grass. Like I think it's changed your industry as well, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I know I do landscape construction. I don't mow, but I have seen those electric mowers. I was actually golfing the other day, and they looked like little turtles out there running around the golf course. I'm like, man, like machines are taking over everything.
Wow.
Yeah, understand that completely. And I don't know. I don't think the battery powered equipment, and maybe I'm wrong, but has evolved far enough to be in a commercial type use in a landscaping type situation, right? As far as blowers and chainsaws and stuff like that. I'm guessing the majority of everything you're still using is gas powered, right?
The majority of everything I use is gas powered, but you're not 100% correct about that, because there's a lot of my competitors, and every year the rep tries to sell them to me, and I'm old school. I haven't gone to it yet. But there are tree service companies right here in Wichita, Kansas, and there are landscape companies right here in Wichita, Kansas, that have gone to all battery powered
Really?
stuff. I'm talking
Wow.
chainsaws, blowers, mowers, everything.
Huh.
And yeah, it's hard for me to wrap my head around, but yeah, those cats are out there doing the same job I'm doing. They've got, one of those overhead valve, super quiet generators, running on their truck, and just a bank of those big,
Batteries.
40 volt and 60 volt lithium ion batteries charging all day long, and they're switching them out. And, yeah, the classic sound of the chainsaw buzzing and the classic sound of the mower running is, I mean, you don't hear that. It's quiet. It's wild. I mean, it's changing in that industry too.
Yeah.
It will be interesting to see what the future brings.
Yeah, for sure.
Just when you think you got it figured out.
Yeah.
Well, very, very good,
Right.
Jordan. Thank you for the call this morning. And yeah, definitely something that has changed the industry for sure.
Right on. Well, you guys have a great Sunday, or Saturday, I rather.
Yes. Yeah, you as well.
Thank you, Jordan.
We'll talk to you later.
All right.
Bye. Very good. Well, hey, let's we're going to go ahead and wind this thing down. I've got to thinking here, definitely under the hood. All right. We're talking about cars, talking about automotive stuff. And I think be a great Father's Day is tomorrow. So happy Father's Day to all you fathers out there. Hope you have a great day.
Happy Father's Day.
Yeah. Get out and do something automotive, right?
Yeah, something. I think there's
I bet there's a million
nice
car
tomorrow.
shows.
There's some car shows
For sure.
I know I think there's maybe a golf course calling my
Oh,
name.
you think so?
Tomorrow.
Yeah. Gonna take the wife and kids go golfing, are you?
I actually am.
Are you really?
Yeah, well, the boys golf, and she has golfed. She golfs with me quite often, so it's a pretty good, pretty competitive deal there. So,
It's when she beats you. That's when that's when it doesn't work. So, hey, everybody, thanks for listening. Thanks for all the calls, all the comments on the chat line there. And again, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. But we will, I think, they're going to end up doing a show on Wednesday for Salt City Racing. And then we'll be back with you on next Saturday. So everybody have a great weekend, and we will talk to you next Saturday.